All right, it's definitely been a while. What's up, everybody? So today's episode is first of all I was gonna do a live, but then I realized so I can have more access to things later. I would just make it a video and just make it a lot easier. But so the reason for today's video or tonight's live, whatever you want to call it, or podcast or whatever, is mainly just about mindset, really. Just because I've come to realize that like today's generation and just like a lot of just like today's world and a lot of people in today's world and just a lot of people in general and just things like that. Mindset is definitely a problem with that, along with motivation and just the fact of like how people are always just like oh just oh me, oh poor, oh poor pity me, and just like how like my life is so hard because I have this and I have that. Well, I'm I have a few problems. Myself, I have a friend Dan who can help me later in a different podcast elaborate on some of that. But I have a lot of things wrong with me, and if physically, and my childhood was never like how it should be, and I was kind of like always in life. I've kind of had the like shorter end of the stick, and I've always had the short straw, and being a kid and now an adult with that moving into the real world and just like trying to like grasp that and trying to like live life with that is it's not really the easiest thing because it comes with some difficulties, and it comes with a lot of sometimes self-doubt and self-manipulation and just like just it's very hard sometimes. I'm not gonna go too, just it's just very hard because like I'm a very I'm how I look at it is I'm not really a person who's like, okay, well, f you, or screw you, or don't ever talk to me again, because like I'm not gonna throw any names out, but I've had a few people who unfortunately I've had to cut off and stop talking to and be the bad guy because of some things, and that really got to me mentally. Kind of messed with my head for a little bit, but a lot of it was like I just hate being the bad guy in some situations, and this world is too cruel. This world, and I talked to this lady in Africa. Her name is Sister Fran. She's truly a miracle. And the work that she does over there in Africa, and the people that she knows, and just the things that she does over there is it's truly amazing. And I wish where I'm from we had some people like that, and we had the amount of just care and just heartfelt and just loving people like we have over there, and especially in where America, that's definitely kind of hard to come across. But back to my point about mindset and stuff like that. I'll stop rambling. I was kind of born with a few difficulties. Like I told you, it was kind of hard. Growing up, but I'm very big into God, and I'm a very Christian person, and sometimes it's not easy, but what am I going to change about it? That's just how God made me. And for some odd reason, not everyone thinks about that like that. People just freeload. People just want to hand out, and people just think that they're owed something when in reality they're not. Yes, I have these difficulties. I can't go run. I can't go do none of that. I can't swim. But again, this is back to the mindset. I'm not crying in my bed about it. Just beat myself up over it every day, because like I've come to realize that's just how God made me. And I go to this one place in Georgia. It's called Beers for Benefits. Shout out to them. Um, it's truly amazing what they do over there, and they get terminally ill kids like myself, and a few like veterans, from stuff like that. And the things that I saw over there at such a young age really, really, gave me some confidence in my life, because there's some people there who are wheelchair bound, or they'll never be able to drive, they'll never be able to make they'll never be able to like make something of themselves. And that's not living. My bad, I was reading a notification. But that's not living. And you know I've never really took anything for granted in my life. Yes, I've been, you know because say selfish, or something like that, but I've never really been a it's about me kind of person. Just because, like, whenever I came across those people, again, who just can't live life, have to have constantly someone around them, and constantly just hovered over, basically. And I was hovered over in school, and I hated it, and I just wanted to be left alone, and just I wanted to be normal. And normal can be a very long, stretched out meaning of normal. Because really, what is normal? I'm not normal. I mean, I'm wearing a hoodie right now, but like, you can probably tell a little bit. If I take this off, my sternum bows out, and I have severe scoliosis, and like, you can tell, like, through my shirt, my back's a little messed up, but again, you can't let things like that get to you. And that's the problem. Is, yeah, okay, people have things wrong with them. That's just how God made you, man. And I get that's hard to grasp, because, like, why would such a loving and caring and just amazing God, take why would he do this to me? But it's not. I look at it, God does everything for a reason. Sometimes you don't know what that reason is. And I'll give kind of a not really similar example, but I'll give an example. I had this one job during February. I was selling solar panels, and like, door to door, salesman, they're always bothering you, stuff like that. I knock up at the doors, say my little pitch, and just I gave it about a week. I loved it. I loved it with all of my heart. It was something I really saw passion in. But for me to like get a job like that, and constantly be moving, just because I also have I have one lung, so it's kind of, I can't really, that's why I can't run, that's why I can't swim. But like, I unfortunately had to give that job up, just because it was too much in my body. And I was like, God, why? Like, I was like, why? Like, why do you do this to me? But I know that everything happens for a reason, and maybe that reason was because for this, so I can come back and do social media, and do podcasting, and get my word out there, and get my mindset out there of just like, yeah, life sometimes sucks, but how you look at it, and how you control it, and how you are with God, and how you are with everything else in your life. That's how you're gonna manage your life. You can't go cry in the I mean, of course, you can have some hard nights. I do too. Like, it's gonna be hard. It's not always gonna be easy. But how you wake up every day, just ready to go with the mindset of like, I got this, and I feel like I feel like I got this. And as long as you're true to yourself, and that you're true to God, and that you're true to really just who you are, I feel like you can get a lot of things done. Because, like, there's a lot of things that I questioned that are like, I'm just like, why? Like, why did that happen? Why did I do this? About a month or about 2 weeks will pass by. I'm like, wow. I remember whenever I prayed that prayer of like, just why? You know, Maybe this is the answer. God, you can't text God and just be like, hey bud, like, I need help with something. That's not how that works. For me, whenever I talk to God, it's at night or in the shower. Why? Just because that's whenever I'm myself. I'm most vulnerable. I'm my true self, and you know, if God had a phone, I'd be blowing him up every minute. But we don't have that option. Yeah, life is gonna be hard and life is gonna suck, but I know many people who have it worse than me, and they're smiling and they're staying true to themselves, and that makes me not only humble, but I wouldn't say an ego, but it gives me a sense of like, okay, I can do this. Jesus, thank you, because that person can't, and I pray to God that they get healed one day. But until then, I'm very thankful, and that I'm thankful for this life that you give me, and I'm just very thankful for like the things that you give me and the things that you have given me. Because whenever I was born, I wasn't supposed to live much longer after I was born, and the doctor even told my mom, like, do you want to see your son, because he's probably not going to have much longer. And now I'm here. Many years later, I'm still here. I'm about to cry because like it's amazing how God works, and it's a blessing. It's just like, yeah, that's life. I wish I can play sports and not be bullied and not have a lump on my chest. But again, I can't cry over that, because that's how God made me, and that's what people need. That's what people need to accept. And I understand that's hard. Whenever it gets hard, shoot me a comment, shoot me a call, shoot me a text. No, I don't. I'm always gonna. I answer everybody. I'm not that person who just. All right, I'm not gonna answer that person just because. No, I answer everybody no matter what. If you feel like you need help with yourself and with God, and just trying to find your true self, and just trying to find your mindset of like, what am I here for? Contact me, and I'm here. But my point of this video is really just because like, how you have your mindset is how you have your life. Because I see older people, like middle age, it's like older grown ups, put it that way, who are just like, oh, just so miserable inside, and just so full of sadness and hateful and regret, and just full of just demonic ways and thoughts. And I'm just like, oh my God, because I'm 19, and like, I'm just like, oh my God, please don't make me have that life. Like, and I feel like they have that life because they don't know who they are. And it hurts me to see that, because whenever I first meet somebody, the one thing that I look for is potential. And so that's why I only have very few friends, because where I'm from, that's hard to find. So, but potential isn't like, oh yeah, you can make it, you're gonna get the job. Like, no, what I mean by potential is someone who's like true to themselves, a real Christian person who's like true to themselves, and God fearing, and like, if I call them, they're gonna be there. If I need them, they're gonna be there. They're not just gonna sit around and play video games and do whatever. They're actually gonna be that friend that I need, and that's hard to find. But we keep getting off topic. My bad. I don't really have a script. I'm just kind of just like rambling away here. With me, I'll never have a script. I say whatever. But with mindset, it's really, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. It's really just how you hold yourself. Like, if you're a bigger person, I'm not gonna be as offensive, but if you're a bigger person, a weak body is a weak mindset, and kind of like, go get a six-pack first. Go to the gym. If you still feel like you're just not your true self, then try seeking something else. But I mean, I'm all sticks and bones over here, but that's because I can't really work out much because of the medical part. But if I could, then I'd be the next, what is it, Brock Lesnar or Conor McGregor or something like that. But until then, a strong body is a strong mind, and how you hold yourself is how you hold yourself with life. Like a clean room, for example, a clean car, or a nice phone, or some style. Which is, I know me talking about style is a little because my style is horrible. I'm wearing sweatpants and but that's my everyday thing. So, but how you really, and also start holding yourself accountable, because accountability is also a very big thing. Because like, don't whenever something happens, don't try to like, oh, okay, well, Jack did this, Sarah did that. Like, no, hold yourself accountable for your actions, and hold yourself accountable for yourself, and hold yourself accountable for how you think, because the one thing that we can control in this life is our mindset. And it's not always going to be easy, but we have to manage. It's going to be very difficult, and that's the point. If something was easy, then what's the point of doing it? Kind of like a game. You don't want to download the game if you already know the entire game, or you don't want to play it on the easiest mode. You want to play it on the hardest you can get. Why? Because for the difficulty part, it shows that you want to challenge yourself, and it shows you that you're worth a challenge. I mean, yeah, it's a game. We're not talking about mentally. Like mentally, you want to challenge yourself. You want to see if you can push from level 4 to level 6. And maybe that could be a big thing for you. But mainly, I'm trying to find a way to put this that's gonna make sense. How you hold yourself is how you hold your life, basically. Like I said, clean car, clean room, good style. You know, just don't give it too much thought, really. I mean, of course, think about it, but like, the one thing that will kill you mentally is overthinking, and that's also something about mindset. Is don't overthink the little things. Yeah, I mean, because just I wonder, just whatever it is, just let it go. Find peace within yourself and within your mind. Take 5 minutes, take a week, take a vacation, turn your phone off. Do whatever you need to. Just try to find what you need in life, and no matter where you are, no matter where you're seeing this, or how you're seeing this, or what position you're in, just the main thing about mindset is, number one, staying true to God. Number two is yourself. And number three, I'm trying to think of number three. I had it, man. Right. Don't overthink. I get it. Let's say that girl's not texting you back. You're having you're hyperventilating inside. Or something happened at work, or it's a financial issue. Just breathe. Just let God take care of it, because there's things that I've prayed for through God that have been absolutely miracles in this world. And I won't ever take that for granted. Just try to really just keep a good mindset. And I'm not running out of words to say. I'm just trying to think, and I'm trying to think like this. I get deep in my head, and I'm just trying to find the best alternative way to put this without sounding just like arrogant or cocky or something like that. I'm really just trying to find the best way. But just stay true to yourself and stay true to God. Don't overthink, and just if you're having a struggle mentally, physically, financially, or work-wise or, just whatever it is, pray about it, because I promise God is listening to your prayers. I would know about that very bigly, just because, like I said, if God had a phone, he'd have to put me on Do Not Disturb, just because I'd be blowing him up so much. But I'm probably gonna wrap it up. But my point of it is, don't overthink. Constantly pray. And every time that you feel like God is getting, whenever you feel like God is getting further away, the closer he's getting. You have to think of it backwards, really. Because, the devil, whenever you, here's this, because I'm going to put this in a way before it gets taken out of context. How do I not say this? How do I say this right without getting out of context? So take praying as a phone call, okay? Not actually, hypothetically. Whenever you're praying, remember, there's two people on the phone listening. There's God, there's the devil. And you're not always going to get what you want, okay? Look, dogs, they will eat anything, okay? If you're not living under a rock, you know that chocolate is not good for dogs. But if I have my dog here and I'm eating Kit Kats, he's going to be whining and tapping my knee, like, come on, bro, give me some. It's kind of how you have to look at it, Because let's say, hey, God, I kind of want this position, I kind of want this new house. Well, let's not do that. But just because trust me, let's just not do that. But of course, he's not going to tell you no. He's just not going to answer that prayer. But if you ask the devil, hey, like, I want that house, or I want this new job, or okay, here you go. And then it just completely fumbles, crashes. It's not what you thought it was, and you're like, whoa, like, what just happened? Just like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, God, really? Like, because remember, you prayed for this. Like, God, really? Like, what's this? Like, how are you gonna do this to me? Like, what's this? It's not always God giving you what you want or what you prayed for or what you asked for. Sometimes it's the devil, and that happens because it's the lesson being learned of like, okay, whoa, okay, this isn't what I thought. God, you're right. I should have listened. I should have prayed more. I should have listened more, and I should have done this more. Please help me get out of this position. He's not going to help you within the next 10 minutes. It might be a month, it might be a year, it might be a couple years. But he's going to help you get out of that position. And whenever you do, whenever that offer comes back around, you won't take it. Why? Because you know that it's a trap this time. And that's how you have to look at it. And me knowing that at this age is truly a miracle and truly just a blessing. And I can't wait to make these other videos and these other podcasts, and get back out there, teaching the word of God, and just doing what's right. I can't wait for it. But until next time, I will see y'all later. All right, have a good night.